Happy Saturday, Dbacks fans. Welcome into another episode of Dbacks Dispatch. Once again, with just two of the three hosts today. We got a special guest joining us today. We'll get to that in a minute, but two of the three hosts today. Gabe is busy. He's got some plans. So, Gabe, enjoy your Saturday. If this is your guys' first time here joining us at Dbacks Dispatch, one, we appreciate you guys joining in. Welcome in. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe on the video. It really does help push us into a lot of other people's algorithms and all that. So, we would appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky. Got a bunch of banger memes over there. Gabe and Josh are always cooking up good ones, so you never want to miss one over there. Join the Discord as well. It's free. Link is in the description. Bunch of D-backs in there, or a bunch of D-backs fans in there. Always talking ball. Great place to be. Always, especially if you're trying to learn more about baseball. If you're just getting in the D-backs, or if you just like to again talk baseball. I know Jeff and our boy Riley are in there, just always going off. So great place to be, as well as go check out every bit of content over on azsnakepit.com. There's multiple articles every day, a lot of great stuff over there for every D-backs fan, whether it's game recaps or just kind of some more in-depth analysis and deep dives. There's going to be something for every single person. But the main part of today's show is we are having a legend, a very famous D-backs fan and Warehouse Games MVP, as Dalton Feely of Jomboy Media is going to be joining us for today's show. So we'll bring him in here. Dalton, welcome on in. Appreciate you joining us.
Warehouse MVP. Now that's an introduction. I love it. Let's go.
Heck yeah. So I watched pretty much every single like blitz ball, slap ball, floor ball. Great content you guys put out over there. So appreciate you coming on here. It's kind of a little fanboy in action over here, but again, we appreciate you joining us. We know you're a very busy person, so thank you for carving some time out on this Saturday, I guess afternoon for you guys over there.
Yeah, of course, no worries.
But we'll kind of dig into it. I know we'll kind of go like chronological order with a little bit of like D-backs news and all that. So I know one of the recent news, you put out some of your initial thoughts over on Twitter, which if you guys aren't following Dalton on Twitter, go follow him. It's a great time. But you did put out your initial reactions to the extension that the team captain, maybe not official team captain, but we're calling him that. Right. Geraldo Perdomo got. So we wanted to, bring you on here and then open up the show, at least getting your initial reactions. Maybe that somebody might have missed or whatnot. So what are your thoughts on the extension for Perdomo?
Well, I mean, first off, I think as Diamondback fans, I think we have a different reaction to the news than maybe, say, common ball fans that just kind of look at the numbers on Baseball Reference, Fangraphs, Savant, however you may look at it. Perdomo brings so much extra value that can't be quantified numerically with stats. We know that's Torrey's guy. We know when the pitchers are struggling on the mound, he's the guy that comes to them. It's like, hey, calm down. We're good. He's that great vibes, big energy guy. He's a defensive wizard, as we've seen time and time again. I mean, he brings so much extra value to this team, and he's the heart and soul of that locker room. So bringing Perdomo on for a 4-year extension, buying out some of his arbitration years, great move by the Snakes and Perdomo.
Yes, it's definitely one of those where I was a little bit surprised by it. I mean, especially because even we talked about it on last night's show a little bit. Gabe was saying that usually the D-backs kind of give these extensions to guys like Nick Ahmed, even Ketel Marte. I know he's a little bit better, obviously, than both Ahmed and Perdomo. But getting him kind of locked up, I believe he's still only 25. So getting his, like you said, arbitration years kind of out of the way, you don't have to worry about, because that's a process that Mike Hazen in the past has been very, very clear where he just does not like doing it. He does not want to devalue these players in front of a neutral judge or anything. It's an easy way to burn bridges. So it's nice to see that they kind of avoid all that, because like you said, he is the heart and soul of this team. He is, like we saw it, like you mentioned last year with anytime J Mart was struggling, or just really any pitcher, even sometimes Gallon, he would be the one that kind of calls that team meeting, goes up there, like, love on the chest, is like, hey, you got this, big dog, like, lock in, like you're our guy out here, like you got this. So I think it's just something, even like you said yourself, if you're maybe not as in tune with the D-backs, or just not a D-backs fan, you're not going to, you might stat watch, or you might like a box score watch and look at some of his stats and not be as impressed. But when you kind of see, like you said, defensive wizard, there's just so many things he does at the plate, in the field. And then even in the clubhouse that I feel like is very undervalued to a lot of people that might not be D-backs fans. And I think it's great to see that they kind of give him the payday that I guess maybe not necessarily like fully deserves. I think he'll still end up eventually hitting free agency, maybe even gets a bigger bump. But I definitely think it's nice that they kind of rewarded him early for his commitment and his progression. Because even Brandon said in our show last night, he was not the best when he got called up in 2021, or was it 2022 when Nick Ahmed was hurt? I can't fully remember, but he definitely struggled a little bit.
22.
22. Thank you. He's definitely come into his own in the last few years a little bit. Obviously, he was an all-star, so it's just nice to see that they rewarded him with a pretty decent contract, so then he doesn't have to worry about getting the league minimum, because I think he was getting paid only a few million before is what they agreed on in arbitration, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know the actual value to it, but it wasn't what he's making now with this deal. So it buys out some of those years, and he does get more money in the now.
It's always great to get these players their money early. So definitely a good move, I think, in general. But going on into, because I guess that was one of the last big moves of the D-backs offseason. I know some people would debate that the offseason is not technically over until opening day starts. But in my eyes, once spring training starts, I'd say at least 95% of the offseason is in the past. So with that, kind of seeing how the D-backs have handled everything with their moves addressing DH, starting pitcher, and all that. My question is to you that now that the offseason is officially over and baseball has begun, how would you grade the Diamondbacks offseason moves, and what did you like or not like from them in regards to roster construction?
I think it's like an A- to a B+. I think the offseason was a very well done operation by Mike Hazen and company this offseason. Starting with Corbin Burns, obviously the big ticket free agent, gets a 6-year deal, massive, over $200 million, a la Zach Greinke, becoming the new ace in a rotation that had its struggles and injuries last year. So Corbin Burns, who has been kind of a consistent aspect in any rotation he's been in, whether it's been Milwaukee or Baltimore, he's been kind of a dominant guy, a 1A, if you will. So I'm very excited to see Burns in the desert. I'm curious to see if he's the opening day starter. I think he will be over Gallen, but that's for future conversation. But then trading for Josh Naylor. Look, Christian Walker, you cannot replace his defense. I don't think any first baseman you got was not going to be the caliber defender that Christian Walker is at first base. 3-time Gold Glover for a reason. That said, Josh Naylor, we talk about energy and vibes. He's a guy, in my opinion, if he's on your team, you love him. He's going to give you 110%, and he's going to be a fun time to watch. If you're playing against him, you probably freaking hate watching him play. So I'm excited for him. Hopefully he gets some doubles and homers in Chase Field. I think it's a park where he can excel in. He took advantage of Progressive Field last year when they had that wind tunnel in right field for his left-handed swing. So I'm curious to see how the power numbers are, but even if he's not hitting home runs, doubles will come, and he'll be a big part of the Diamondbacks lineup.
Pull shots. I want to see. It's right in that sweet spot. Like, I think he'll hit, he could hit a decent amount of those pull shots.
I think he's going to be one of our first lefties to hit the truck. I don't think we've had a lefty hit the truck yet.
Oh, yeah. That's far too, that's
a deep shot.
That is, that's probably close to 450, maybe a little bit more. I watched Naylor when he was with the Padres, and I'm like, hey, he was fine.
Yeah,
Cleveland doing what they do. Like, they just turn nothings into something. So
they're so good at that, man. Yeah, Cleveland is so good at that. They especially with pitchers, they're like a pitching factory. But now Naylor, who when he was there for a couple of years, was electric, especially during a couple of their postseason runs.
Yes, I know.
Slade is now going to be a Cy Young candidate. Just watch. Slade will get like 15 wins, but I'm fine with it because he was not gonna pitch on this team. So
I don't know if he'd be a Cy Young candidate. I definitely think they're gonna turn him into a really solid bullpen piece because he has the pieces, he has the stuff and the makeup. It's just on, I think the biggest key, and it was kind of talked about when the trade went down. It was just the location. It was the, keeping the ball out of the middle of the plate because his fastball is really good. He's really good in those short bursts, but obviously it was a very talked about thing where his first inning, first go through the lineup is good, but then the second batters start to face him for the second, maybe even third time, it kind of starts to turn into some BP. So who knows? Like you said, maybe the Guardians do unlock something in him and keep him in the rotation and turn him into a really consistent guy. They do have. It seems like Shane Bieber came out of nowhere. I don't think he was a really highly rated prospect. At least I could be mistaken and remembering it incorrectly, but they turned him into a really solid pitcher. They've done that with Savale. So I would not be surprised at all if they do that with Saccone, but I am glad to bring in Naylor. Obviously, like you said, you're not going to be able to replace Christian Walker. Like no first baseman is even close to being what he is defensively at first base. Like no matter what you do, no matter on the trade market or in the free agent market, you weren't going to get that same production in the field. Yeah. But it is nice to know that, at least they do kind of bring back some of the power that they would have definitely been missing. And like I said before, I don't think there's been a D-back that's hit the truck. The only person in my recent memory in the last 5-6 years that's even come close was O'Neal Cruz off of Brandon Pfaadt last year.
Dude, that was a moonshot. I thought it was gonna break the freaking windshield.
Yeah, so I was because I was in person for that game, and I was like, oh, wow. One, the sound off the bat is insane. Like, there's not many players in baseball that I feel like can make that kind of sound. But two, I've only, even in the home run derby years ago in 2010 or maybe 2011, when Robinson Cano was just hitting absolute bombs, I don't even think he got up there. And I know the home run derby is different. It's less velocity, but still, it's definitely going to be a fun year. I do think that Naylor is going to be a great addition to the lineup. And I think that he's going to be just good for the clubhouse. I don't know if he's talked much about a clubhouse guy, but I think he's going to come in. He's going to be a leader. He's going to be a guy that, especially a lot of these young guys might look to, might, be something where they're like, hey, what did you see in Cleveland? Like, what did they kind of teach some of their guys? Maybe he can just bring some knowledge to the clubhouse that maybe was just missing before. So I'm really excited to see what they did. I'm curious your thoughts on, obviously I know it was very talked about. Were you surprised that they didn't really move on from Jordan Montgomery? I know there's the 7-8 guys minimum that are vying for the 5 rotation spots. Was it surprising to you that now that we're into spring training and started officially some baseball games back, that there wasn't a move made in that department?
Yeah, very, very, very surprised. And maybe not for the reason I think people would assume. His performance was absolutely horrid last year. It was one of the worst seasons in Diamondback history for a starting pitcher, in my opinion. But when an owner comes out, when Ken Kendrick says, this one's on me, guys. This was an awful signing. This is my fault. We shouldn't have brought him in. That's usually a red flag that you're moving on from a guy, because who wants to play for someone that says, oh, we shouldn't have signed you. You were bad. It was a bad decision. So I'm quite frankly shocked they did move on after those comments by Ken Kendrick. But then Mike Hazen trying to, sweeten up a little bit, saying, we have 7 guys, 8 guys. We don't know what's going to happen in spring training. Injuries can occur. We've seen it in the past too. Last year with the Diamondbacks rotation getting banged up, whether it was in spring training or throughout the season. So having a lot of starters that could pitch in the major league level is definitely a positive for the Snakes. I'm just shocked they didn't move on for how bad he was and for the comments made about how bad he was last year.
Couple of things about that. I wouldn't be surprised if some GMs, they're like, I'll give you nothing, because I know how much you want to get rid of him. And he's a good starting pitcher. He just had a really bad year last year. If they decide to keep him and he is one of the 5 in the rotation and he pitches, 25 starts, if he can keep his ERA under 4.5, to me, I'm okay with that, because we are not asking him to be our 1, our 2, our 3. I'm like, keep the ERA under 4.5. Do not be at, I think he was just over 6 last year. It was all about his sinker and his changeup. He had no control of it at all last year. And it was just his changeup is just on a tee, hit it, please.
I think a big key, even Jeff's bringing it up in here, saying Kendrick playing chess. Those comments lit a fire under Monty, and he went and lost 25 pounds and is in the best shape of his life.
Oh gosh, the best shape of his life quote. I hate that. Oh.
It's spring training, so you're gonna get the best shape of their life quotes, because it's there's at least 20, 25 players that always oh yeah, great off season. I'm feeling which it just looking off of pictures, Monty does look a lot more slimmed down, even when he was Ranger, even as a Cardinal. He does look I know don't think they have the actual information on like players' weight, like public and all that right now. But he does look in general, just like off of kind of the face and all that. He does look a little bit slimmer. So if it leads to him being in a little bit better shape, we all know how hot it gets in Chase Field. We know Merrill Kelly has struggled with that at home and on the road. His issues are a little bit different, but if he can maybe just have a little bit better conditioning, and then if that does maybe help him get back up, because I think his sinker being at like 92, 93, like it was with the Rangers, is a big key. Like Brandon said, his changeup, it was on a tee, but when his sinker and his curveball just aren't working as well as they were in previous years, it really doesn't leave you with much. It just seemed like he went out there, whether it was a confidence thing or just genuine conditioning or whatnot, he just, like you said, one of the worst seasons, if not the worst season for a Diamondback starting pitcher in history, because we all saw Mad Bum, but I think the difference is like we knew we were getting past his prime Mad Bum. We just wanted like a nice veteran. Hopefully we can get like something good out of him. Or Jordan Montgomery, coming off of beating us in the World Series, seeing what he did, we were I think expecting a lot more out of him. So I'm hoping, like you even said, there are injuries and stuff that happens. I was definitely surprised. We talked about it a lot on our show throughout the offseason about him. They're going to make a trade at some point. But even our other host, Gabe, one of the things he brings up all the time, which is a good point, is that it's nice to have a little bit more balance in your rotation of righty versus lefty. So keeping him in there, if he does fully prove that he, earns that fifth rotation spot, I think it does add a little bit of an extra factor in that regard. But again, we got another 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks of spring games to go through. So plenty of opportunity for him and other guys to win spots and lose spots.
Let me ask you this, because it's now a domino effect. Now having Monty stay in be a part of the Diamondbacks roster, staying here, what would the rotation? What's your ideal rotation for 2025 to begin the year if everyone stays healthy? Because like you said, there's 7 guys, there's 5 spots, and they're probably not going to do a 6-man rotation. Though I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, Gabe loves the 6-man rotation idea. So you and him are on the same page.
For me, Gallen's one. Like I know Burns is probably better, but this is Gallen's team. So I think it's Gallen, Burns, Kelly, Erod. It's that final spot that I keep going back and forth. Mm-hmm. Like if they decide to go with Monty, Fott is going down to Reno. There is no doubt about that in my mind. I go back and I'm like, he's a veteran. Monty had a full off season. Like he knows where he's pitching. He knows where he's playing. So, but I love Brandon Fott, man. Like the amount of progression that he made, like when he first came up, like I was like, he's a number 5 starter at best. And then we saw postseason Fott, and I'm like, oh, okay. He's our only good pitcher we had in that postseason. Like in that postseason, Gallen wasn't helping us. Kelly wasn't. Like Fott was our freaking like savior in that postseason. So many big wins. So I would personally say Fott and then trade Monty. But if you can't, Monty in the pen or Ryan in the pen because he does have that experience. But personally, Fott is my 5. He earned it last. He was the only guy that pitched most of the season.
As a true day one Brandon Fott believer, I know there was deniers. There's people that were naysayers. I was up here. I'm like, hey, you know what?
I was one of them.
I know. I just like to give you shit for it. But yeah, say Brandon Fott. I would hate to kind of send him down to Reno, but it's one of those where if everyone stays healthy and everyone kind of does, like if there's no clear outlier who loses a spot, I think it is unfortunate because even Jeff brings up, he's saying that Fott is now a 3-WAR AAA pitcher, and that's just. It's almost like it's a good thing. It does suck, but it is a good thing to have, that depth to where there's always going to be even injuries during the season. Hopefully, knock on any bit of wood that I can. Hopefully we avoid anything like that for the starting rotation. But I think for me, ideally, it would be, I get what Brandon's saying with Gallen being number 1, but I just think with the pedigree, just everything like that, I'm going Burns 1, Gallen 2, either combination of those I think is fine. Erod or I can't even just speak. Merrill's going to be 3 probably. Erod 4, obviously you're paying the money for him to be your 3 or 4. And then if Monty can prove in these short spring outings that he is showing signs of coming back down to earth and he's going to be what he was in 2023 and what we expected. I think Monty's taken that 5th rotation spot, and then maybe even you move Erod to 3, Merrill to 4 to kind of have a nice balance where you don't have back-to-back lefties. But if Monty doesn't do well, then I mean, I love Fott too, but Ryan Nelson had a really stellar second half last year, even better than Brandon Fott as well. To where if Ryan Nelson can continue and do the exact same thing that he did at the end of the season, I think he has a pretty good case where the bullpen there's a lot of guys in the bullpen, especially with Dre Jamison back and healthy, to where if Jamison wasn't healthy, I think you could easily. I love Dre Day. If Jamison wasn't healthy, I think you could definitely slot in Nelson in the bullpen in that spot. But the fact that there's so many guys in the bullpen that even Monty being an option in there, if they can't find a way to trade him and he doesn't crack the rotation, like I think either way, Fott or Nelson, maybe even both, are going to be down in Reno, which is unfortunate. But like I said before, I think that's just kind of like. Just it's a good unfortunate thing to happen.
I completely agree, and so this is my fear that's going to happen. Let's take away spring training and how they do, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future in terms of performance. But let's say based on paper, everything, right? I think it's going to be what you guys have said: Burns, Gallen 1-2, Kelly, Erod 3-4, and then that 5th spot becomes the question spot. Monty doesn't have any options. Fott's got 2. Ryan Nelson's got 3.
Yeah.
I'm really worried it becomes an option game where we're sending Fott and Ryan down because you have the option flexibility, and Monty takes the 5th spot. Now, the only thing I'll say is I understand the argument of Monty being in the bullpen. Heck, I think that's not even the worst case idea if there's fatigue issues or any other conditioning issues still from last year. But we know from last year, too, that Monty did not want to pitch in the bullpen. He made it perfectly clear, I'm not a reliever. I am a starting pitcher. So
then pitch better. I'm like, pitch better.
And I completely agree, right? Pitch better. But at the same time, you're paying him $22-ish million for this year. So my guess is it's going to start, again, pending injury, pending like crazy good or bad performances in spring training. It's Burns, Gallen, Kelly, Erod, then Monty at 5. And I don't think Fott or Ryan make the roster. Because like previously mentioned, the bullpen's now getting in a better spot where there are a number of arms that can pitch in the big leagues. And I truly think if Fott and Ryan aren't going to make the rotation, keep them as rotation guys in AAA. Let them get those reps there, because looking forward to 2026 already, there's a world where Zach Gallen doesn't resign and Monty's off the books. That's 2 spots that open up. And, oh, look, those 2 guys ready to go back into that rotation. So I think that's the perfect match currently.
Merrill Kelly could also be gone after this year too, so it could be even like 3 spots open. So it's one of those where, like you said, keep them stretched out, because bouncing back and forth because I think that could partially be why Dre Jamison had the injury that he had a few years ago, where they couldn't fully decide if they want to keep him as a starter, move him to the bullpen, because they'd have him in the bullpen up here, drop him down to Reno, he'd go back to being a starter. Just you kind of, with some of these guys, just like pitchers, especially pitchers in general, they're very routine-oriented people, to where you gotta give them a designation off the bat and
make that decision.
Make that decision.
They did it with Archie too. They did it with Archie. Like, they couldn't decide, and then basically, like, he was hurt. They're like, yeah, we're just going to keep you in the pen. So, like, make the decision with. And I think the only person that I question that right now is Ryan, only because of the bullpen experience he had in college. Yeah. Fott has always been a starter. And I really hope it does not become a option thing. Like, they have options, Monty doesn't. But again, if Monty pitches well, like if Monty has a sub-4 ERA, I'm completely okay with him in the starting rotation. Or they end up trading him, or maybe they trade Ryan and some other pieces to get a closer like Johan Duran.
Bring him back in the Diamondbacks farm system.
Yes. I remember when we traded for Eduardo Rodriguez. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. I'll take or not Rodriguez, Eduardo Escobar. Yeah. So I remember and I was like, I don't know, no idea who Duran is. And then like 2 years later seeing, oh yeah, he's got one of the nastiest splitters in baseball. And that was at the same time where we were just seeing, because it is nice to see the D-backs in the last 3 years go from having like 0 guys in their bullpen that were flamethrowers. We were relying on the Ziegler and the Chafins and guys like that, where I was like, just get one guy that throws hard, like, please. And now they have Jameson, Martinez. Puck throws pretty hard too. He gets up there.
Ginkle,
yeah, like what a nice change from the past of being like, contact guys that are throwing in the low 90s, because it was heart attacks that I just did not enjoy every single day.
It was the humidifier. I think a part of it was a humidifier, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much, but like it was so many fly balls in Chase Field prior to having, fixing the park and the I believe the term's humidifier, where the ball doesn't fly as much. They use it in Colorado too, and so they had these ground ball pitchers like Brad Ziegler, if you will, because they wanted to minimize the contact. But a good way to minimize contact is getting guys who strike people out. Flamethrowers can do that. We've seen it with J-Mart. We've seen it with Puck now. Ginkle in big moments. Like, it's a thing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. So that's definitely going to be not even just the rotation, but I think there's so many positional battles, which is kind of nice to know that obviously it's not like it was last year when Torrey came out and it was like, Perdomo's our starter, our starting shortstop. Like, don't even question it. He is going to win that position. There are a lot of positions, a lot of areas that are up for grabs, that the backup infielder, rotation, bullpen. So there's going to have to be some moves made, whether it's guys being cut or maybe some other teams are seeing, like, if Monty does perform well and a team calls him up and they're like, hey, he looks like he might be back. Can we reopen those trade negotiations for somebody that you were asking us about earlier? Obviously, you don't see that too often in spring training, as teams seem to kind of want to stick with what they already have and, go into the season and just hope that what they're putting together works. But crazier things have happened, and I wouldn't be opposed if we get a little bit of a spring training transactions like that.
The one note I do want to say real quick before we move on is that working at the Jomboy Media office, a lot of Yankee fans, right? Makes sense. They say the same thing about Marcus Stroman. So, I mean, there might be some guys on rosters that could be on the bubble that you want to move, but there's not a buyer that wants to buy a Monty, a Stroman. So I think at this time, I think Monty's a snake until proven otherwise. Like, I would be shocked at this point if they move on from him.
That's a good point, honestly. They're probably just going to stand pat, and then, like you said, probably going to be an options game, but as long as Monty's pitching well, I think the options game doesn't hurt as much. It does suck for the players, but
sub 4.5. Keep it under 4.5. Yep. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not asking you to be our number 2 and have that like under 3.5. Like, I don't need you to be Gallen, because we have Gallen and we have Burns. That's their job. So I just need you to not be a major liability. Like, I don't want it to be, Monty's starting today, there's a loss. Like, now it may happen, but I want the chance to be like, keep us in the game. We saw what that offense did last year, and I still think it's a top 10 offense. I still think it's top 10. So I think we're going to be able to score runs. That's not going to be a problem. It's Monty, you can't give up 5 or 6 in the first 5.
Yeah, like, if we can get a nice balance of last year's slug with 2023's chaos ball, I think that's the nice perfect medium for the D-backs offense, because last year we saw there was just, there was a lot of home runs, but there just wasn't as much, stolen bases. It seemed like there wasn't as much, like, it would literally, we even mentioned multiple times on the show, they were living and dying by the home run ball. And so many games where, we missed the playoffs by one game, that could have been the deciding factor if maybe they got a little bit more, action on the bases. But before we get into our other topic that we had about, obviously, previewing the season and all that, there was a comment in here that I wanted to bring up, because we did mention, obviously, Perdomo being guaranteed that spot last year, and now with his extension, he's got that locked down for a while. Jeff in the comments is asking and saying that he needs to know Dalton's take on the Lawler situation. So I'm not sure if you saw Mike Hazen's comments earlier in the week after the extension, where he was saying, like, Jordan Lawler will be on this team when Jordan Lawler is ready to be on this team. I'm curious your thoughts on the Lawler situation.
Again, it kind of goes back to my thoughts on Brandon Pfaadt and Ryan Nelson. If they don't make the rotation, what they should do. I think Jordan Lawler, if he doesn't make a start, if he's not starting in the lineup, which he will not be, I think he should go back to AAA Reno just to get consistent reps, man. I think that's the most important thing. We've kind of been let down with Jordan Lawler in terms of his ability to stay healthy or play. He's got a couple options remaining. He's still only 22. He turns 23 during the year. So he's still young. He was a fast riser until the last couple of years. But that said, like, I would rather a guy like Ildemaro Vargas or Garrett Hampson take a utility role over Jordan Lawler. Let him just get his reps at short, at third, in AAA Reno, and just get back to being what he once was, like a top 5 prospect in baseball.
Yeah, have the same sentiment as you. It's just let him cook, let him because it's not like he's gonna have an expiring contract. There's gonna be an option open for him next year if they don't bring back Geno, which I don't think they will, especially if Geno does good. There's gonna be probably some other teams that are willing to pay a little bit more. And the D-backs could have a rookie on a rookie deal slide into third, use that money in other aspects. So there's definitely, kind of like you said with Nelson and Fott, there you don't have to look at just 2025. You can look at 2025 and beyond and seeing what the roster can do down the road. But going on into obviously
I just don't want to see Lawler 2 games a week. Like, that is not good for his development. So like Dalton said, if he's not the starter, so if he's not 4 to 5 games a week, send him down to Reno. Let him get those 4 to 5 games a week.
Yeah, like Dalton said, he's still super young. He could use the reps still. Like, even like you said, throw him at third. Let him get some more time at third base if that's the position you want to slide him over to. Or because I don't think you're going to move Perdomo off of shortstop anytime soon. I do think Lawler has a better arm, but it doesn't mean that Perdomo's not a great shortstop in general. So
we saw it with Blaze Alexander too last year. Like, when he got called up and he wasn't playing, we were saying let Blaze cook. Like, he started the season off relatively hot for him playing like 2 times a week, and then he was kind of forced into play, and then he got cold very fast. So I would prefer if you don't think he's ready and you want him to get reps, don't have him be a bench piece on a contending team. Let him get reps in AAA.
Exactly. Yep. I think we're all on the same page there. Yep. So moving on into, obviously, like I said, baseball's back. We're starting the season. Especially, I believe there's some games going on right now, especially the ones in Florida. So we're fully back. We've never been more back. But moving on to some of the season preview and predictions. I know I believe Brandon responded to you on Twitter when you had one of your threads kind of asking for people like questions and all that. But my question to you is, what do you predict the D-backs record to be come the end of game 162? And then maybe what are some hot takes and predictions that you might have for the Diamondbacks in the 2025 season?
Ooh, okay. I'll start with the record. I think the Diamondbacks are a 93 win team. I hope for more. That would be fun. I do think they're going to win 93 games. The big thing is, you lose Walker, you lose Peterson. Those are big blows to the lineup. But you won 89 games with having the number 1 offense in baseball and one of the worst pitching staffs in baseball, ranked 27th in ERA in rotation, and I believe they're in the bottom third of the league in bullpen. So if you get any improvement from both of those spots, I expect an increase in production in the win category for the Diamondbacks. So 93 wins or better, that would be fantastic. As for the hot takes, let's go sizzling first. Corbin Carroll had a really bad first half. You know it, I know it. Everyone's mother knows it. It was really bad to start the year. And he heated up in the second half. So my first prediction is that Corbin Carroll records his first 30-30 season. He gets the power, hits 30 home runs. He's got some support in Cattell and Josh Naylor in that lineup. I think the power might finally burst through a full 162, which would be nice. And he just steals bags. Like, there's not even a question. It's guaranteed money pending injury that he's going to get 30 stolen bases. He is chaos baseball in the desert. So it's just, can he do it with the power? And I think, you know what? He can sneak in 30, 31 home runs this year. Big part of the lineup. Let's see. Going through the lineup here. Josh Naylor, a 40 double guy in Phoenix.
Oh, I like that.
40 doubles. I think he's going to take a hit in the home run category because Progressive Field was really good for left-handed hitters last year. So I think the power numbers, he might not be a 30 to 35 home run guy. I think he might be more like a 20 to 25 home run guy. That's fine if you're getting doubles, though. Get extra base hits. I'm cool with that. Arguably my hottest take, and there's an asterisk with it. Jake McCarthy will be top 5 in baseball in stolen bases. The asterisk is for 2 things. One, if he's the consistent starter in the outfield, because as of now, he's projected to be a full-time starting outfielder pending spring training. The other thing is he got timid running the bases last year. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Like, he just kind of like stopped running. He got picked off, I think, a lot at first base, and that might have like halted him from running a little bit more. But let the chaos, like you guys said, let the chaos go. Let him run. He's electric. Bullpen, my only prediction is I think J Mart's the closer, not Puck. I think with Puck, he should be the jackknife of the bullpen. And by that, I mean, he's the guy that pitches in high leverage situations. That's not in the 9th inning. If we're playing the Dodgers and Ohtani and Freeman are coming up in the 7th inning or in the 8th inning, have Puck start there. Go ahead, let him be the jackknife and do that role, and have J-Mart be the consistent 9th inning guy when they have the lead. Puck is so valuable, especially facing lefties or top of the order. I wouldn't just handcuff him to the 9th inning getting saves. I think that should be more for J-Mart.
So interesting when you said asterisk on Jake. I thought you were going to go and say top 5, but it won't be with the Diamondbacks. Like,
Interesting.
I thought that's where you might go, because I think, I don't want to see him go.
There we go. We're back.
Yeah, I don't want to see Jake go, but if it means we get a Ryan Helsley at the trade deadline, I'm willing to do it.
Okay. It depends on where they are, of course, in the standings. But assuming they're in a good spot, knock on wood, right? Would you rather deal McCarthy or Thomas? I know that's also a big talking point in the community.
Mine is Jake because that Gold Glove upside and the power by Thomas, I personally like more. Again, I don't want them to. I love both of them. I love watching them play. But if it means we improve the team, make the playoffs, we see what happens. Like, all you have to do is get into the tournament, because anything can happen in a series. 2023 against the Dodgers is a prime example.
Josh or Jeff in the comments is basically, I'm on the same page as Brandon. Like, I love Jake. Jake's like, he came by my work actually a few months ago and got a little tour, and I got to like meet him in person. So like, I love Jake. I'm be very happy if we kept him, but I think even Jeff saying sell high on Jake, not low on Thomas. I think we know what we're getting out of McCarthy. I think we know his floor and his ceiling. I think that Alex's potential ceiling is a little higher than Jake's, but we do know that we've seen it last year, especially with the offense. His floor can be a little bit to a decent amount lower than what Jake's is. I know Jake struggled a little bit in late August going into September, but we did see what he was doing when he was kind of scorching hot in July against even that Philly series. Like, when he's locked in, he could be a really solid player. Definitely not the same defender as Alec, but I think just a little bit more reps in center field he could improve, because he does some pretty tough reads on some balls out there. But it is one of those where I think
my God.
It hurt to watch, and
For
it's definitely
personally, that's why we didn't make it, and it wasn't the fact that we lost to the Padres C squad.
I'll still take it as the 8-0 blown lead against the Brewers. There's so many we can go. There's like 20 games you could pick.
Paul Sewell's July,
three blown saves in a row.
The Braves. There's so many examples from last year. So many examples. Like,
and can I just say, let me rant for 1 second, okay? I get yelled at. Like, I react as a fan, like a lot of us do, when we lose a game, like a heartbreaking game. People say, oh, it's only April. Oh, it's only May. You know what? We missed the playoffs by 1 freaking game last year. I don't give a crap.
Gabe said that too.
You know why I'm reacting like that in April, May? Because I care, and I want them to make the postseason, because that's fun, and that's fun baseball.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, so me and Gabe literally shit, because last year he was saying the same thing in like March, April, and May, where he's like, it's early, the season's not over, like it's fine, there's plenty of baseball, but hey, it's every single game matters. That's why we have spring training, and that's why we have the regular season. Every single game in the 162 game season matters. We saw it years ago at, I believe, the 2011 playoffs when the Cardinals, the Cardinals, Braves, and the Phillies, I believe it was, were fighting for that. I think that was when the Cardinals had their devil magic season, when they came back from like 11 games out of the wild card in the beginning of September. Like, every single little game matters. And like you said to yourself, like, we're reacting like that. Like, maybe sometimes get a little bit more emotional with it, but hey, that just means we care. That means we want to see our team win, especially in like a save situation like that. Like, we're not going to react, oh, they blew a 4 or 5 run lead in like the second or third inning. That still sucks. But when you're that close to winning, blown saves just hurt a little bit more, especially when they're against the Dodgers, they're against the Padres, and the Braves, especially now that it's with the less divisional games. You got to make sure you take care of the other teams in the National League. Like, all those games matter. The games against the Reds are still going to be important this year. The games against the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets, every single player, because the NL East has 3 good teams. So you got to make sure whoever doesn't win the division out of there, you want to have the better head-to-head record, because all those matter when it comes to the wild card and like who gets what position in the wild card and where.
100%. They make the World Series in 23. They win what 5 more games in 24 and miss the playoffs, the NL is very competitive. And you shoulda, coulda, woulda, would have been awesome if the Diamondbacks in the American League. I think you could argue they are the best team in the American League. Like that's how good they are, but that's also how good the National League is too. So every game matters, man. Regardless if you're playing an NL West opponent, NL opponent, AL opponent, you just got to win when the game's going.
Exactly. I believe on the Rose rotation the other day, Rose and Plouffe were actually talking about that a little bit on comparing like who has a better roster, who's a better team, like the D-backs with the Yankees. And a lot of people are like, why are we talking about teams in different leagues? Like, well, it's a fair comparison, or it's a fair thing to bring up when, like you said yourself, the NL is super stacked. Whereas the AL, yeah, you have some really good teams, but I feel like the space in between the really good teams and the really bad teams, it's a lot wider. Whereas the NL, you have a lot of teams that are hovering around that, like, hey, they're not terrible. Like even the Rockies this year, I don't think are going to be terrible. Like they might not be an 80-win team, but they're not going to be last year's White Sox. They're not going to be like even the A's. They're going to be a little better in the AL, I believe. They're finally spending money now that they're Oakland. I feel so bad for A's fans. It's terrible. But it is a fair comparison to bring up. But just every single game matters. Like it's just because the season's not over in April. A loss in April can decide your season being over when it comes to September.
Yep. I won't do that this year. I won't say, oh, this loss to the Rockies in the middle of April doesn't mean anything. Like, guys, I said that last year, and we missed it by a game. So
yeah, we've learned our lesson, and definitely not going to be doing that in 2024.
My quick side story on that: I'm in the office that Monday when the Atlanta and Mets series gets rained out, and they have to play that doubleheader. And it was torture. I was dying a slow death. Everyone in the office was like basically coming up to me before the game started saying, sorry for your loss, as if my season was over. And it was because you knew what was going to happen. Whoever won the first game was not going to give 2 shits about the second game. And then we put ourselves in that position. It stunk that we were in that spot because of the weather and the doubleheader, but don't lose games in big moments versus C Squad.
Yeah, take advantage of, put your own future and your own destiny in your own hands, and then you don't have to worry about, because again, if the D-backs were in the same position, if the Braves or the Mets were the team that were looking on the outside, and it came down to a doubleheader between the D-backs and one of those teams, we'd be saying the same thing. Just get in. Who cares about the second game? Like we'd be telling the other fan bases the same. Like, hey, maybe. And even another example, look at some of those losses to the Mets in, I believe it was late August or early September. Like that series where the Mets came to Chase Field, I believe dropped 2 of the 3. You win one of those, you don't have to worry about it. The early April or early May game against the Braves where they had like a 6-2 lead where Brandon Pfaadt just had that blow up inning in like the 5th or the 6th inning. Like you win that game, you don't have to worry about, the other teams doing what they did, which yes, it sucks. I'm still going to complain about it just because that's what I do. But it sometimes you, like Dalton said, you got to look at it as hey, you got to take care of your own business. Yes, it sucks some of those situations the way like the dominoes fall, but if you take care of your own business, then you don't have to worry about, being out on technicalities or being out on those like tiny little margins come the end of the season. But I did have a few questions myself for you because, like I said, I'm a big Warehouse Games fan myself. I've been watching, especially for years, like when Blitzball started. I remember all those videos you going up there singing your own walk-up songs and all that. I thought that was a great time. Added just a lot of fun and humor to the things that I appreciated. But my question for you is, what Warehouse Games event do you enjoy the most out of them all? And then for maybe people that aren't as in tune with the Warehouse Games, maybe like a quick explanation on like what it is.
I'll start with the explanation, just so if people don't know, which it's totally okay. It's a YouTube series, JM Warehouse, and it's some of the Jomboy Media employees. We play basically high school gym games in a competitive fashion, where Jomboy likes to say, it's a mix of competitive games with backyard family vibes. Like you're playing to win, but also it's also fun vibes, energy, and content. I guess the game that I like the most, it's not even a franchise tournament. Slapball is sick. I love slapball. My arm hurts after it most of the time, but that's okay because it's basically our spin on handball, and that's a really fun game to play. You're moving around, shooting balls on net. It's really fun.
It does have a lot because I was recently watched because I was watching every episode as it was dropping. Shelfie's team, insane. Like they went off like that was. Yeah, dude, that was crazy. But it is kind of fun seeing the because you were on Jack's team, right?
No, I was on Jake's team. I was on the
That's
story.
right. That's right. You're on the story. It is kind of fun seeing how each team has their own, like plan for defense, offense, like different kind of plays you can run. I do like the rule changes this year compared to the last year. I like the no contact. Like even like Jimmy said, you got to keep everyone. You don't. It's still fun, like you said. It's competitive, but it's still that backyard thing where you don't want people to get injured. But
Right.
I like a lot of the rule changes. Slap ball was really fun to watch. I'm still a fan of the blitz ball. That's still my favorite to watch out of there. But
Of
honestly,
course.
everything that you guys do in the warehouse, it's just I don't know, it's great content. Like you guys do a great job over there. And like the ingenuity, the rule changes, like it's stuff that imagine like 5-10 years ago, people would have been like, what, who would want to watch a bunch of like backyard, fun in a warehouse? But you guys make it really fun, especially the setups. Like I'm always blown away with like the setups in there where it looks like this is the same place where you guys play blitzball, but it looks entirely different.
That's the shout out to the crew. Like they do an amazing job, whether it's like the construction team and production team in terms of setting it up, whether it's the camera, all the camera people, all of the editors, all the producers. Like they do a fantastic job getting it to be what this product is, for fun sports, great backyard vibes where people can enjoy and watch on YouTube.
Say, what's the next one on the docket that's scheduled to come out?
So we filmed. So we just did slap ball. So I believe Captain's League, ball and play is the next thing up. And then ironically, last week we were supposed to film last week, but I was supposed to hop on here last week, but why I couldn't, we were filming Blitzball Battle 6.
Nice.
So that's done. That's good. Can I maintain my MVP status? I don't know. You're gonna find out. I think in April, roughly.
I say Lovia is going to come back and make it back-to-back champions.
We'll see. Knock on wood, right?
Heck yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to keep that on my calendar, and I'm gonna tune in for that. And I think if you guys in the comments are listening and all that, and you guys don't know obviously what we're talking about, go over to the Warehouse Games YouTube channel. It's a blast, especially like it doesn't have to be live, but you can go watch it. I believe you guys have it all on a playlist. It's just a great time. Like one of my favorite things, when I'm making breakfast in the morning, doing laundry throughout the house, whatever. It's just great to listen and watch in the background. Highly recommend for anybody. And yeah, I'm definitely have to look out for those episodes that drop in April, because that's one of my favorite times, especially whenever I like the shit talk that Trevor and Nikki Cass get into. It's always a blast.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's something else, let me tell you.
But my last question that I had for you here, I know we're stretching the time a little bit. Obviously, you're a little under the weather.
No worries.
My last question for you, kind of circle back, keep it Dbacks related. There's a lot you could choose from. There's some that might stand out more than the others. Obviously, the 2001 World Series walk-off, I was a little bit too young to actually fully watch it, so that's why for me it wouldn't go in my favorite memory of all time. It is a good memory, but my question is, what is your favorite Diamondbacks memory of all time? Could be something that, like, for me, I'll probably go with the Alec Thomas homer, because I was with my mom at that game in the NLCS, got to see it in person. So for me, that goes up there. But I'm curious what you would slot in as your number one memory for the Snakes.
It's a great question. I'll give you two that are more recent, like recent memories. My first, I think I would say, is when they clinched the NLCS in Philadelphia. I was on a live stream for the Jam Baseball channel. So like people were watching me. They were riding with me and the Snakes, and for them to clinch it in Philadelphia was amazing. I went nuts on the stream, as any Diamondbacks fan would have in that moment. So that was fun. And then, ironically, because I'm from New York. I live in New York. I don't get this. I'm not in Chase Field quite often. The Adrian Del Castillo walk-off home run versus Philadelphia last year too was sick. I had great seats. I was right there. It was a great game. And for his first home run to be a walk-off home run, that the atmosphere was absolutely bonkers. So I would say those two are like my most recent memories that I really like. If I'm throwing it back, I kind of want to say the 2011 team as a whole. That was just a fun, like my first like really fun season. Like 07 was good, but I was still young. Like I was 8 when it was happening. So I remember it, but just not as much. The 2011 season was like my first, let's go Snakes, let's go.
Yeah, that was
fun though.
Yeah, so that was the first, I think one of the first times where I definitely, I'll admit I was, young as well. I think I'm only like a year maybe older, because I was born in 97. So I was definitely like not that old. I cried. I was not happy. I did not like the Brewers. I still don't like the Brewers. I was very upset, especially with the fact that they went down 2-0 in the series. They had that, like the Goldie Grand Slam, I believe, in game 3 off of, what was it, Marquez? No.
was not marquee. Was it oh shoot.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
It was definitely a grand slam because it was his when he got called up. I can't
and it was the dude threw the glove like 30 feet in the air, which is still one of the funniest reactions from a pitcher, just tossing the glove up as high as he can. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but yeah, so that's a good pick, honestly. That entire 2011 team, I believe, was that wasn't, I think 07 was at Anytime Anywhere. But yeah, the 11 team, Tapman, like there was just so many good players on that squad. Like you can't go wrong, honestly. Like unfortunately, there's not, it's not like the Dodgers and the Astros where it can become a blur where you're like, oh, we made the playoffs 7 years in a row. I don't know what
Markham.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew it started with an M. I couldn't remember what it was.
Thank you, internet. That made it so easy.
I was like, I knew it wasn't Jason Marquis because I think he was a Cub maybe in that point. So I was like, who was this? Okay.
Yeah, so it's not like other teams where we have, the years kind of blur together because of how successful they were. We get a few sprinkles of fun here and there. So hopefully maybe this year we can make the playoffs. Maybe in the next year we'll actually break that streak and we'll, maybe who knows, maybe in 5 years from now we'll be able to be like, wow, those years were a blur. All the playoffs, the wins in the playoffs, all the fun memories, because once you get a taste of playoff baseball, man, like it's the best. Because I wasn't able to go to the 2017 wildcard game. I think my first playoff game was the 07 one against the Cubs. Like that was a blast. But being able just to experience like that 2023, just every, like the game against the Dodgers, those games against the Phillies, like it was very, I'm very vocal. I use my voice. I'm the yeller. I know there's people in my seats around me that aren't the biggest fans of me, because me and my mom were in the 200s, and people usually sometimes are like, it's the quiet section, why are we yelling? And I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, it's a sporting event. I'm not yelling profanities. I'm not yelling in anyone's faces. I'm just being loud for my team. And especially when we got a stadium half filled with the other opposing fans, like the Dodgers and Phillies, when they're trying to chant, for their team, I got to do my best to be as loud as I can and counteract it.
There's no such thing as a quiet section of a stadium. That's malarkey.
That's what I'm saying. But even like my brother,
I'm like, if you want it quiet watching a sporting event, stay home.
Go home. Yes.
Thank you. What a concept. Like, I love my brother. I know he was mostly just giving me shit, but one of the games we went to, I think it was in that same season, late in like September, the Cubs came to town. He's a Cubs fan. I think it was because I think it was either Jay Bell or a different Dbacks player that was traded to the Cubs after the 0-1 season. So that's why he became a Cubs fan. So we were at a game. It was when they were fighting for the wild card spot, and I was down there cheering loudly for the D-backs, like as loud as I can. Let's go D-backs. I would always yell, Corbin Carroll, Rookie of the Year, things like that. And he'd always give me looks where he's like, dude, you're so annoying. I'm like, I don't care. Like, if you don't like it, you don't have to be at the game. Go watch at home. Go watch with mom and dad. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be looked at like as a bad guy just because I'm cheering for my team in my home stadium, like in a playoff race. Like Dalton said, if you don't like it, don't be there.
Stay home.
Exactly. Brandon, do you have any questions or anything for Dalton before he gets on out of here?
I want to go back to this. Like, it's kind of a question, but also kind of serious from Jeff. When is Jomboy Media adding a Talking Snake show with Jesse?
And yourself?
Oh my gosh, I love Jesse. We would be lucky to have Jesse. That's for sure. He's amazing. That'd be awesome. Talking snakes. Jake pops in a little bit because it's his snakes too, he says. So that'd be funny. My thing is, I work for a media company that's primarily in baseball that covers all of baseball. I'm lucky enough to spread our snakes love nationally. Right. Like when we talk about baseball, like national coverage, it's the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Astros, like all of those quote unquote big market teams, whatever. Diamondbacks deserve a lot of love. They've been good over the last couple of years. They're hot. They're just only going to get better. It's exciting. Let's spread some snakes love. Why not?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So especially so excited for the season.
Me too.
Dude, I'm pumped. I believe the D-backs game should be starting here in the next 12 o'clock today, 12:05.
I thought everyone was at 1.
I'll double check here really quick, but yeah, I'm just glad that baseball's back. Especially, maybe not a hot take. I think the D-backs have the best spring training uniforms and hats. I think the black and teal combo with the teal hat is probably one of the best looks. But again, I'm very biased. I like teal in general. The Mariners are up there too because I just love the Mariners teal. But that's a conversation that I think a lot of people might have some different takes on. But again, appreciate Dalton joining us on the show. It was a blast.
Yes.
Like I said, I was fanboying a little bit. Glad to get to meet the 2024 Warehouse Games MVP. Maybe 2025. We'll have to tune in.
Back. Don't call it a comeback. I don't know.
Exactly. But we appreciate your time, good sir. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Hopefully you feel better, and hopefully you enjoy watching some Snakes baseball today.
Let's go. Appreciate you guys having me on. Love talking some ball.
Heck yeah. Thank you, sir. You have a good one.
Don.
All right. Well, you guys again. Yeah. So that was great. So we're gonna maybe down the road we'll because obviously he's a busy man. We'll have to schedule some more Dalton talking Snakes on here, because I think especially for Gabe probably had or has some questions and would love to talk some ball with Dalton. So maybe, who knows, in the future we'll get maybe like a mid-season update, maybe especially with his hot takes and predictions on Corbin having a 30-30 season and Naylor hitting.
It's not a hot take. That is not. Like that
was, I guess, more prediction. Yeah, say like, who knows? Maybe like around the All-Star break, we'll try to schedule something out. Yeah, I like the Jake one.
That's a hot, like that's a definite hot take. Like, I mean, but he wasn't wrong. Like Jake, he got picked off first a couple of times, and again, I don't know if it was a team decision, a tour decision, or him. Like he just didn't feel comfortable going as much. That's what I was thinking. Like All-Star break is what I was thinking, because we're gonna have a little bit of a lull there. Preview the second half. So
I know he, especially Jomboy Media, Jomboy and them usually go to the All-Star game, so we'll have to obviously work around his schedule. Maybe it's a little bit after the All-Star game, maybe it's a little bit before, but we'll definitely have to try to schedule something out to get him on here, just because Dalton's awesome. It's nice to just talk Dbacks baseball, just with especially everybody in chat. We love talking with Snakes ball with you guys as well. Don't get me wrong. It's just nice to it's just like I said, fanboying a little bit. Dalton's like the famous Snakes fan behind probably talking Jake, but that was, I guess, more of a joke because he kind of started calling him my Snakes in 23 when
they got hot.
Yeah, but it was great having Dalton on. So again, if you guys don't follow him on Twitter, go follow Dalton on Twitter. Go check out the Warehouse Games. Go check out Talking Baseball.
Both of them are in the description of the video. I did put it in during the show, so if you're watching, it may not be there now, but if you are watching on the replay, you'll see the link to his Twitter and link to the Warehouse Games YouTube. So go ahead and check it out, guys.
Yeah, it is absolute blast. Like I said, it's one of my favorite YouTube things to watch. Each episode is usually like 30 plus minutes long too, so it's not like just a short video. It's a lot of great content, and their production, like if you guys haven't seen it, I'm not even kidding. Their production is borderline like actual MLB level. The replays, sound quality, mic, all the camera angles they get. It is amazing job what they do over there for Warehouse Games. So make sure you guys go show them some love. Go drop them a follow, go watch all their content, because it's some great stuff in here. But we got a little bit of time left. Like I said, I was actually mistaken. Brandon was correct. The game does start at 1:10, so we do have just over an hour until first pitch today, where the D-backs take on the Rockies again. This time the D-backs are the away team, I believe, and the Rockies are the home team. So it is going to be.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I didn't watch a highlight. I just posted it in our Discord. It doesn't mean I watched it.
How dare you? How dare you? I'm just giving you shit. But so I believe we have the lineup.
We do.
I believe we have the lineup for today's. If you wanted to go over it, Brandon, and kind of read off who we got in what order for the people.
Yeah, to me, it's a very. I wouldn't say it's a B lineup because you got a lot of our top guys in there, but it's definitely like a off day lineup there with Herrera. But we got the man that we love, Marte, DHing today, leading off. Then we got our other MVP candidate, Corbin Carroll. We got Pena Power in the 3. We got Suarez. We got my most hated person, even though I don't actually hate him, Pavin Smith. Then we got our number 1 prospect, Jordan Lawler, Blaze at second, Herrera, and then Jorge Barroza is playing center. And we got one of our non-roster invitees, John Curtis, starting.
Definitely going to be a bullpen day. I think we're going to see a lot of Shelby Miller, Dre Jameson, a lot of guys like that.
So, but again, everyone. The score in these games do not matter whatsoever. Just have fun. Just watch these guys. I'm very curious to see how Lawler plays because, as we discussed on our last episode, if he wants to make the major league roster, he's got to have a very good spring.
Yeah.
So, and I personally said over 400. I just don't know what the team's expectations for him in spring are. Who I'd like to see play today. I want to see Shelby Miller pitch today, if we can. As Jeff puts in, Jose Castillo is also pitching today. I'm kind of
cutting him out a little bit, I think.
So it might just be for you because we lost you for a bit earlier.
Yeah, I don't know why my thing is. I've been having some issues like that on my thing, so maybe I got to get my computer internet checked. But
yeah, like Charles said here, like he needs to force them to make this decision. Like he needs to have a spectacular, literally like Blaze had last spring. Blaze had a fantastic spring, and they had to put him on the opening day roster. Like Lawler's gotta like hit 400, be seamless in the field. He's gonna because if they don't, then it's gonna be a major star. Like, why didn't Jordan Lawler make the opening day route? Like, that's what he needs to do. If he hits 250, has a couple of errors, and looks okay, he's going to Reno, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because then that means he gets consistent playing time. Because as we discussed, like he cannot do the 2 to 3 games a week here at the major league level. As a role player, he needs to be that every day, be in that lineup.
Yeah, so I think even like, Dalton, we talked about when he was on the show, I think it just at least keep him stretched out. Like it would suck for the confidence. I know like even at the MVP party, he was saying he's going to do everything in his power to stay on the MLB roster. I just think it's just unfortunate timing with the positions that are open. It's not like it was even in 2023 where, our third baseman was, again, love the guy. He was great for what he was as a veteran with Evan Longoria, but when you have a third base platoon of Evan Longoria and Emmanuel Rivera, it's not as easy for Jordan Lawler to, make a splash in spring and steal a spot because like you could easily cut bait in a guy like Rivera. You could easily Longo was basically already a platoon guy and would start, every few days throughout the week and would basically be our right-handed DH at the time. But there's not a clear spot for him. Obviously, which again, not a bad thing. It's nice to know that there aren't necessarily like holes on the team to where we're sitting here like, wow, like our top prospect could really fill in there and be very useful. I'd rather just have him get those ABs down in Reno, stay, kind of like we talked about with the Nelson and Fott, stay stretched out, stay getting those consistent opportunities. Because just like in any aspect of life, we all have things that we can continually improve on. Baseball players are no different. So at least, he could even get some more reps at third base down in Reno. Maybe they try to move him to second base. Like if they're fully convinced that Geraldo Perdomo is going to be their shortstop, at least for, until 2030. Like for these next 5 years, and they want to move Cattell off of second base into the DH role, there's a spot that opens up for him at second. I still think that Tommy Troy is better suited at second base. Keep Lawler at short or third, whichever one you put him at. Domo gets the other one, but it's. I'm just excited to see Lawler, especially on TV, because I still like in my case up here of my personal collection. I would say most of my top row is just all Jordan Lawler. I'm very heavily invested in financially, but
it's the same thing with J Mart with you too. Like,
oh yeah, J Mart and Lawler.
Like, it's not that he's not deserving. Like we all love watching J Mart pitch, but you've been on.
I'm gonna show it off a little bit too because I any chance I get to show off some of my cool cards, I'm doing it.
Yeah, for me with J Mart when he first came up, I'm like he's got great stuff, but he's spraying it all over the place. And then he made a big improvement. And then I'm like, okay. And then, but Brett has been on that train the entire time. He might be a little biased.
Maybe a little bit biased, a nice little number to 75 here. This card, my father-in-law did card breaking and he pulled this and I had the D-backs in that one, so that was actually really cool. Never thought I would get that. This one, the iconic Bowman first auto right there, and nice little tag 8.5. This one's cool. And then this one I saw on eBay a little while ago, and I had to get it when I saw it. This is the Bowman Sterling Jordan Lawler auto. This is the rose gold. This is just a 15. So these are just some of the few ones I have. You could definitely say that I'm a little bit biased in my hope for Jordan Lawler as a future Diamondback. So maybe you got to take a little bit of the grain of salt when I'm saying that I really want him to obviously be on this team. But like I said, anytime I get a chance to show off some of my collection, I'm going to do it.
Charles, this was my exact thoughts. And initially, like, I was like, he's just another Luis Frias, but he had a really good, I think it was from, was it 23 to 24 or was it 22 to 23? Like
22,
that,
23.
he made a massive change where he was he was controlling a lot more of his stuff. I'm like, oh, and then we saw how nasty that splitter is. That splitter is disgusting, you guys. That's why, and like a lot of people on Dbacks Twitter are like, he has the stuff to be our closer. It's just with him, it's mental. Exactly. If he can just control his emotions, he can be a dominant closer. And I love what Dalton said, like, because I'm the same. Like, AJ Puck is too valuable as a lefty to just keep him in the ninth. But say, for example, like you said, what if you're facing a team with two lefties coming up in the ninth? I'm okay using Puck in that situation and not J Martin. So it's just going to depend on who we're facing that day.
Like if we face the Phillies and it comes to that was on our street, a motorcycle drove by, I believe. A lot of people like to treat our street as a racetrack, if I'm being honest.
Damn. So, but Brett, you want to go over what we announced at the end of the show yesterday?
Oh, yes, I can do another little teaser and another little show off for you guys that weren't there in last night's show, or maybe that didn't see it on Twitter. We do have the official announcement on Twitter. But for anybody that missed, we're doing another little giveaway. We're announcing it this coming Friday. Got some cool stuff for you. So the first one, obviously, it was one of the hot items last year. We have Corbin Carroll's Rookie of the Year bobblehead. Got it right here in my hands that we're giving away. We're also giving away the Randy Gonzo Hall of Fame shirt. I believe the size in it is an XL for anybody wondering. Then I did get a baseball signed by a bunch of people at the Dbacks MV party. And then figured can't really have a Dbacks giveaway. Can't be a Dbacks thing without one of the most iconic Dbacks cards in the Matt Hilton B Guy card. So these 4 items will be given away to one lucky winner. If you guys are listening to the show, whether live or not, if you obviously go on Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just leave a comment. We'll even post it in the Discord. Like obviously the live show comments and actual YouTube comments are different. So if you don't have Twitter and you want to be entered into there, you got to make sure you put an actual comment in the YouTube video. But like I said,
either this one or yesterday's show, either one will give you an entry into the giveaway.
And like I said, all 4 of these are going to one lucky winner. And for you guys that might not have seen on Twitter, I didn't get to get every single person. I wanted to get guys like Gino. I wanted to get J-Mart. I wanted to get every single person I possibly could that was like a well-known name to sign the ball. But I did get a few, obviously. I got like on here the key names: Brandon Pfaadt, Dre Jameson, Jake McCarthy, Alec Thomas, Randall Gritchick. So there's a lot of good guys on here. And I did get it signed in some pretty cool gold paint pen as well. So on this side, you have Kissinger, Thomas in the middle, Gritchick at the bottom. Over here is Renee Pinto and then Brandon Pfaadt. On this side, the ball's flipped. Jake McCarthy, Seth Martinez, Dre Day down there at the bottom. So a lot of cool names on here. So for one lucky winner, make sure you guys go like, retweet, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, just all the things. I believe we'll have the tweet potentially in the description as well. Or again, if you don't follow us on Twitter, then as long as you comment on here in the actual YouTube video, not the live chat, comment in the actual YouTube video, that will enter you into the giveaway, and we'll announce the giveaway winner the following Friday, I believe the 28th of February.
Yeah, it will be very fun as we get here kind of into the season. We'll most likely go back to our twice a week show structure. So get ready for lots of content coming your way. I know we all are very excited for the season. I know for me, my expectation, yes, I know the Dodgers did a lot, and everyone's like, "Oh, World Series is the Dodgers." There's a reason you play the games. Anything can happen in a series. D-backs fans, your expectation should still be a World Series.
Exactly. We're just
I
a
know
good
Dodger
season.
fans are like anytime that any other fan base posts that they're going to win the World Series, Dodger fans are like, "No, you're not. Like, it's not even a competition." There is a video on TikTok that we posted about Corbin Carroll's comments from the MVP party. There's a lot of comments in there from Dodger fans saying, "No, there's no competition," which is almost idiotic to think that you're not gonna lose, because how many years have the Dodgers like just had an amazing regular season and go one and done in the play? Like, anything can happen in a 5 or a 7 game series. So
Exactly.
could they
You just got to
win?
get there.
Yes. Like, could the Dodgers absolutely? Yes, but also they could, like exactly what happened in 2023 with the Diamondbacks. They could have 3 of their main guys go over in a best of 5, and they're done.
Exactly.
So,
Like Diamond, I like it. Maybe not last year, but hey, you know what? We're gonna ride the energy. We're gonna keep that same energy. It's gonna be just like it was in the 2023 playoffs. I believe even Kevin Ginkle had some comments that were on Twitter and all that, where he's saying like you give us a 7 game series, our guys versus their guys. He's confident the D-backs are gonna take that one home, and I think that's the same energy. Yes, I know that they've beaten us a lot in the past, decade plus. It's been a tough time, especially some of the seasons where they've just beaten down on us when we weren't as good. But you got to keep the confidence, keep the faith, as Terror, the band, might say. So I had to throw that in there. Be keepers of the faith. Always make sure, especially even against the Rockies, these guys just know that this is a really good roster. Yes, there's some pieces that were subtracted. There's a lot of great pieces that were added. It's just going to be a good team overall in general, and I'm excited. Especially we have just about 59 minutes now until first pitch, so I'm just excited to see some of these guys back in action. Corbin Carroll spring training debut today. I think Lourdes is getting his first hacks in as well. D-backs Dodgers fight will happen in LA this year. I feel like there's a fight in LA no matter what game. It's always, even if it's not a D-backs fan, there's always Dodger fans trying to scrap. So that's why I personally will never go to Dodger Stadium, and if I do, I'm not going to be wearing
twice.
I'm not wearing any other team's uniforms because I'm not taking a single chance of hearing shit from somebody. Oh, players fight. Another little 20. Was it 2012 when they fought, I believe? Or was it
It's happened
2011?
multiple times.
Well, I
It's
mean the
happened
famous one when like Greinke was on the Dodgers, when like they had that actual like brawl on the field years ago. I believe that was 2012. I mean, personally, I still like, don't get me wrong, brawls are fun. Just it seems like it's an easy way to see guys get injured or suspended. And like we talked about, even when Dalton was on the show, every single game matters. I don't want to see any key player suspended for any meaningful time, whether it's a pitcher, bullpen guy, whatever. But I mean, who knows? Maybe if they do square up with each other, maybe we'll at least get another fun video out of it, because that is definitely one of those videos that, I mean, as long as we win afterwards, because I feel like ever since that fight, that's the reason why they pissed in our pool. That's why they jumped in our pool. That's why them and their fans have always, like, basically, especially because they beat us all the time, they don't like us. But hey, who knows? Maybe we'll have to get a little bit of a revenge and
I don't
show
think
them.
the players and the organization hate us. It's just the fan base.
Well, I think the players at the time in the Dodgers hated the D-backs because, again, it was fresh. There was I believe the same like team. That's why when the Dodgers did clinch the division in 2012, that's why they jumped in the pool. Like, they wanted to be like, hey, fuck you guys. John, welcome in. If you're just tuning in, once the video once the stream is done, make sure you go back and watch from the beginning, because we did have Dalton Feely on today. And he just a lot of great stuff from Dalton. So again, we do appreciate him joining us. So if you guys are just joining us, make sure you go rewatch the video from the beginning, or when we do put the audio side on Spotify or Apple or whatever it is, make sure you guys go check it out over there, because you don't want to miss anything that we talked about with Dalton. He knows ball. He is a true snake ball knower. So you guys go listen to his comments. But like I said, we're less than an hour from game time, so we'll get out of here before we get much closer, so anybody can, kind of get their setups ready to actually enjoy watching some D-backs baseball on TV. But before we do, Brandon, any final thoughts from you on today's stream, whether it be stuff that we talked about with Dalton or just in general today's Rockies D-backs matchup?
Just want to say thank you to Dalton for coming on. It was a real blast to talk some D-backs ball with you. We'll definitely make sure to get you on. Like I said, the link to the Warehouse Games YouTube is in the description. So if you guys want to go over there, subscribe, check it out, go ahead and support them over there. This game, I don't care what the score is. I get to watch live D-backs baseball. That's all I care about.
I'm not scoreboard watching. I'm player watching. That's what spring training is all about.
Yes.
Especially, we will get, like I said, Jordan Lawler. There's a lot of other prospects. So this is a great time to kind of familiarize yourself with maybe some guys in the minor leagues that we don't get as much video, because especially we've made jokes plenty of times. Even guys that played like Drew Jones down in Visalia. Visalia looked like they were recording on a iPhone 8 in the shakiest hands possible at times, and the ball would be hit to right field, and the guy's looking to left field, and he's like, "Oh, where'd it go?" It's like, not the best quality, at least for today's game. We'll get to see some MLB production for some guys that we might not be as familiar with. Get to see some of these in positional battles in spring training kind of take place. And I think it's going to be a blast. So again, like Brandon said, thank you, Dalton Feely. Shout out the 2024 Warehouse Games MVP for hopping on, talking some Snakes ball with us. Make sure you guys jump in the Discord if you aren't already in the Discord. If you don't know how to make a Discord, download it. Download the app. It is super easy. It's an easy way to stay in touch with, especially all of us at the show here at Dbacks Dispatch, as well as a bunch of other D-backs fans like yourselves. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky. We got a bunch of banger memes all the time, especially when we're in season. A bunch of fun content, and just we like to keep it light, but we also like to be realistic at times. So make sure you guys go follow us over there. Also, again, say it every time, go check out azsnakepit.com. A lot of great content, great articles, game recaps, game previews, deep dives, analysis, all that kind of thing. So whatever you're looking for as a D-backs fan, azsnakepit.com will have it. One of the great writers over there on Snake Pit is actually usually in the chat with us today, Jeff, and he's also in the Discord. So if you have any questions for him or anything that like you want to pick his brain on, I know he loves talking baseball, especially pitching as well. So again, another reason to go over to the Snake Pit and join the Discord. But I've been Brett. It's been I've been Brett. This has been my man Brandon. Gabe, we appreciate we hope that you've had your good Saturday. We'll be back as the full crew sometime this next week to talk some more D-backs baseball. See you then.
It's the Dbacks Dispatch. Let's go. Yeah, Brandon, Red Gabe, Josh on the phone. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home running dogs, diamond gems we share. Brandon was a stat, Caesar man was a plan. Red breaks it down, tells it like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. I got the insights every week's a hit. Tune in, Dbacks Dispatch, this is it. Now we rollin'. Dbacks Dispatch, yeah. Talking Brandon Gabe, this is Big Catch. Josh on the mix, he makes the beats. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the band. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we're here to stay. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor out to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we're here to stay. Catch us every week, we bring the flavor out to it.